Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 695. With this postmortem video, you're going to get a little bit of a chess history lesson because the variation played in this game was the same as the line played by Lewis-Paulsen against Paul Morphy at the American Chess Congress. So the first American Chess Congress in 1857 was set up to kind of showcase the talent of Paul Morphy. He had made a name for himself in the New Orleans area certainly, and he was becoming known outside of that, but he hadn't really faced a whole lot of strong opposition at this point. He was still, I think, 19 years old at this time, so not yet fully grown. He hadn't yet made his grand tour of Europe. So they invited 16 strong players, including Morphy, and they invited Lewis-Paulsen from Europe to give it international flavor and give Morphy some strong competition. And they set it up in the form of a knockout tournament. So they started with 16 players in pairs. They paired them up and had them play little mini matches, eliminated half the players, and then they did another round with 8, a round of 4, and finally a round of 2. And the two players that survived to the final round were Paul Morphy and Lewis-Paulsen, who were the strongest players naturally. And they played an 8-game match. And whenever Paul had the white pieces, so there's 4 games played where he had the white pieces, he always played e4. And Paulsen played the Sicilian. He played c5. And the games went like this: knight f3, e6. In fact, this move e6 is sometimes called the Paulsen Sicilian. But nowadays more often is regarded as not yet having a name. Basically, this e6 move could be preparing to go into the Kahn Sicilian, the Taimanov, or even the Scheveningen. And Paul Morphy played d4. He was one of the early proponents of this treatment of the Sicilian, going for an open Sicilian. And naturally, as that fit his style. And the move that Paulsen played in this position is bishop to c5. Not a very popular move these days, but this was the line that he was playing. So this is what I am calling this the Paulsen Sicilian at this point. Bishop to c5. So the first time Morphy faced this move, he played the move knight b3. You can see it's actually still the top choice in the database. A very logical move. Just drop the bishop back and just drop the knight back and kick the bishop. So it gains a tempo, and you get another move of development. And the first time Morphy played this way, he scored a win, and then the second time Paulsen managed to draw. So the third time they faced this same position, after bishop to c5, Morphy tried something a little different. He tried bishop e3. And I think this is a good example of how opening theory evolves. It evolves through grandmaster practice. They try something out, they see how it works, and then they study the positions at home. Today they do it with the help of the computer, but in the old days they would go over the position with their friends or just on their own and look for ways to improve. And this bishop e3 move, I think, is an improvement. The chess engine likes it better than the knight b3 move. But it's a sharper move. It leads to more complicated variations. Paulsen played queen to b6, and Morphy, the first time, he played in this position knight to b5. So Paulsen just develops the knight. Morphy exchanges off the bishop, and then drops his knight into d6 with a check. And it looks interesting. I mean, it takes away black's castling privileges, but well, king to e7 is going to chase that knight back. And let's see, where does the knight go after king e7? Let's just take a look at it. Oh, knight takes c8 check. He picks up the bishop. Anyway, that's as far as I wanted to go in that line. The chess engine still rates this position as about even, so it doesn't give any huge advantage to white in that position, although Morphy did go on to win that game. So let's back up to the starting point and see what he played in the fourth game, because that was maybe the most interesting. So we got the Paulsen Sicilian here with bishop to c5. Morphy played his improved move, bishop e3. Paulsen played knight b6, and now Morphy played knight to c3 in this position, setting a little trap for Paulsen and waiting to see if he would fall into it. And in fact, Paulsen did. He took the pawn on b2, and now the move knight d to b5 traps the queen, and there's no escape. The game continued. Bishop takes e3, and then rook to b1. So, yeah, in this position, the bishop is hanging too, as well as the knight being on b5, but there's no opportunity for the queen to come back and defend that bishop. Is that true? The queen could actually, instead of bishop takes e3, the queen could come here. But then there's this check. So knight to b5 has multiple threats. So anyway, yeah, Paulsen tried exchanging the bishop, but now rook to b1, the queen is trapped. The knight on b5, in addition to looking at that c7 threat, is also looking at a3 and preventing the queen from escaping. So yeah, Paulsen was just down material here, and well, he took the rook, but he went on to lose the game. So that's a little bit of opening theory dating back to 1857. And yeah, Morphy went on to win that, his first big triumph against tough competition, and then later, I think in 1858, went on his tour of Europe where he defeated all the top players in Europe as well. Okay, so in this position, though, I had forgotten those games. It's been a while since I reviewed them, although I think I had looked at them before. I just played the move c3 here. It's not a bad move, but it's not the best move. I think if I remember, I will try that bishop e3 move. And, well, the reason I'm talking about all that theory is that after queen b6, it turns out that bishop e3, which I did not play, is still a good move. You know, I didn't want to play bishop e3 because I didn't want to give up the b2 pawn, but I really should have been thinking like Morphy here and looking for what I can get out of it. Queen takes. Here's a couple examples of how it might continue. Knight to d2, you need to get the knight off the back rank, defend the rook, and also threaten to bring the rook out and chase the queen away. And notice there's one little trap here. If queen takes c3, you can oh, actually, there's something better here. After queen takes c3, not rook c1, but knight to b5 again. Yeah, hitting the bishop and hitting the queen simultaneously. And now, say the queen drops back to defend the bishop. You still have this check, but you also have this trick. You can trade off that that bishop and then play rook to c1. And the queen can't defend the bishop that's undefended on the back rank, so that drops a piece. So queen takes c3 just can't be played. I think queen to a3 here, and knight to b5 is a playable move. No, this gets into trouble too. It's kind of a double attack on the queen, and the queen can't go anywhere that defends the bishop. So actually at this point, black has to play a6. Instead of queen to c3 or queen to a3, he has to play a6 to stop the knight from hopping into b5 in those threats. And now rook b1 chasing the queen, and rook to b3. Queen drops back here defending the bishop. And there's some cute tactics here. There's knight to b5, interrupting the defense of the bishop. And there's some tricks like this. Bishop takes, the knight comes here with check. King runs to f8, and then knight to c4 attacks the queen and rounds up the bishop. Let's see, what's the score here? I think in this line and other lines, yeah, there's 2 pawns to 2 pawns and 4 to 5 over here. And these and other lines, white actually stays a pawn down, so black keeps the pawn, but white has terrific development and compensation for the pawn. So anyway, that's good play there, is to just sacrifice that pawn and play for activity with your pieces. Instead, I played queen d2, defending everything, and the game continued in sort of normal channels. Knight f6, f3, defending once again, h6, b4, kicking his bishop. You know, I was probably doing okay around here. I get a pretty big center. Played d5. I played some bad moves in a bit here. Knight to c6. You know, he's maneuvering this knight around. He's going to get it into this strong square here. And at the moment he's attacking this pawn. There's another idea here to just sacrifice that pawn in exchange for good play here. You can play bishop b2 here. And if he takes the pawn, you have knight a4. And, well, first off, if the queen drops back, then you can actually just win the knight, because you've got two pieces attacking it. So he has to find a counter-attacking move here. Black has to find queen c6 attacking your knight. Then you can trade the knights like this and play on white's a pawn down, but white has these bishops that are excellent, and this is a really bad bishop here. So so white has a good position here. Good compensation for the pawn again. Let's see, I went knight e2, which defends everything but kind of blocks up my position and takes me a while to unravel. He went queen a7. He's preparing b5 and knight to c4. So I went bishop b2 so I can free up my knight to try and untangle here. Goes b5. I go knight c1. Now my bishop is finally free to move. Goes knight to b6. So he's bringing this knight in to the c4 square. Now I went bishop e2. I wanted to be able to castle. He goes knight c4. And I just took it off. And actually at this point the chess engine thinks black is better after that exchange. It wants me to just play on like this. Queen here, say black castles, bring the knight out to b3. I can get my knight to a good square too. I do have the bishop pair. I just need to kind of slowly unwind. This move here with the bishop is a little bit too radical here. It gives him this advanced passed pawn, and it creates some weaknesses on my part that he can attack. And particularly I was worried about the d pawn, but when I castled, this actually hangs the e pawn. I think I pointed this out during the video. He can just grab here at any time, and that would be a good move. So I'm basically a pawn down at this point. But even if I didn't castle, say I wanted to castle without losing a pawn, I could do it this way. I could play queen f2. He might castle here. Then I could castle. But he can bring his queen over the d file. And, you know, with this passed pawn and with his bishop getting into the game on this diagonal, and my bishop kind of locked up behind my pawns, this is still a position which is strongly in black's favor. Black has a big advantage here. Let's see, I can play knight e2 to kind of unwind here. I guess the knight might be coming over this way to blockade the pawn and maybe try and push the d pawn forward at some point. Try and get some play that way. So it's not game over, but black is definitely better in this position. So castles was even considered an okay move by the chess engine, just giving up a pawn in order to get my king to safety. But he didn't take the pawn. He played bishop b7. Let's see, I went knight e2. I was totally neglecting that pawn for many moves here. He goes rook to d8, hitting my d pawn. Rook a d1. King e7. King e7 was kind of a funny move. I don't think he really needed to play that. He could have just castled. Might have been a mouse slip even. But he still has, you know, this pawn that he can take at any time. Let's say I went knight to g3 here. He went rook d7. So obviously he's planning to rook d7. He's planning to pile up on the d file, and I'm looking for ways to stop it. I go with knight e4, looking to hop the knight into d6. Plays here, and I place my knight on d6, thinking I had solved all my problems. But throughout all that sequence, this d pawn was still pinned, and this e pawn was still hanging. And right now is a place where black can take that pawn with maximum effect. And really my position just falls apart at this point. I have to move the knight out of the way. It's hanging. It doesn't have any great squares to go to. And after I move it out of the way, this pawn is hanging too. He's got, well, it's still defended by the bishop. But anyway, yeah, my position is pretty sad after I retreat that knight. He's got that pawn. He can probably pile up on it with his knight and win this isolated pawn as well. So yeah, the chess engine gives black a two-pawn advantage at this point. Instead, he played bishop back to a8, and now I finally realize that my e pawn is hanging, and I defend it with queen f4. And so now I'm okay. The game is about even. Let's see, he dropped his king back to f8, sort of castling by hand. I went king to h1 so I could free up my queen to move around, not having to babysit this pawn all the time. So now this e-pawn is actually defended by the d-pawn. And right here he just gives the game away with one move. He could still play on, and the chess engine likes this line. Thinks it's about even. Say queen c7. I bring my bishop around to c1. I'm going to try and get it in the game. And black sacks the exchange here for a pawn. Let's see, I can bring my queen over here to e4, kind of pinning his knight. Looking at that bishop there, he kicks my queen, drop it back to e2, and the chess engine rates this position as even. I still have weaknesses here, and I have the exchange, so I have some material, but black has a pawn and he has weaknesses to attack, so that's enough to make it an even game at this point. So that would have been one way the game might continue. Instead, it's that black needs to recognize there's a mate threat on f7, which is defended at the moment by his queen and his rook. So everything is okay, but it just takes one little move to interrupt that defense, and it's game over. So a quick finish. Well, at least I spotted that one. An interesting game, and hope you guys enjoyed the little history lesson there. And I'll see you again next time. Bye.